So Francisco Lindor responded to Steve Cohen's comments. That's how this whole thing started 10 minutes ago because Badabooms can't play the soundbite the right way. So now he's going to get on here. He's going to get on here and explain himself and talk about hog riding. Anyway, so Francisco Lindor responded to the comments from Steve Cohen about no captaincy yesterday. And he said the right things. Like, look, no matter what Cohen says, and that's, obviously a front office thing, a Cohen thing, and I respect it. And no matter what he says, or no matter if anybody's named the captain or not, I'm still going to be me. Great, fine, whatever. It's not a big deal. It should be put to rest. No more captaincy. My issue is that Lindor thinks he is the captain. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. And if he truly were a captain, he wouldn't be lobbying for it. Captains don't ask for that stuff, or at least they shouldn't. Use David Wright as an example. You think David Wright ever went to anybody within the Mets organization and said, hey, look, Skip, whoever it was, Terry Collins, Skip, make me the captain? You think that happened? It didn't. As a matter of fact, it didn't happen. They went to him and said, TC, I want you to be the captain, David. I want you to be the captain of this team. That's the Mets, and whether it's ownership, on down the GM to Terry Collins to David Wright or TC, I should really ask about that story again and get it cleared up from Terry, how that happened. But it wasn't David lobbying to be a captain. And that was part of the issue with the Mets a year ago, was that Nimmo wanted to be the captain. Lindor wanted to be the captain. I'm sure Pete wanted to be the captain. That stuff just doesn't, that's not how it works. So part of, I think, the issue in the clubhouse could be that Lindor thinks he's the captain, but maybe others don't think that. And I just wouldn't focus on that. A true captain doesn't got to go out there and say, I should be wearing the C. I should be the captain of this team. I am the captain of this team. A true captain goes out there and leads by example, doesn't talk about the captain nonsense. Just go out there and do it. Lindor's play on the field, the fact that he plays through injuries, that is something, those are acts of a captain. His performance in the postseason in 2024 and down the stretch, that is a performance of a captain. Lead by example silently. Don't be lobbying for it and try to make the captain. I know it would mean a lot to him, but I think he got caught up in the wrong things there. And even with the comments after the Cohen stuff, I just feel like Lindor, I feel like he is a little hurt by this. I don't think it's going to impact his play, but I think he's a little disappointed, let's say, a little disappointed that Cohen would not name him the captain. And maybe he's sensitive to some stuff that went on in Cleveland. Remember the Jason Kipnis? I think it was. Kipnis comments talking about Lindor wasn't the leader. And then there's stuff you hear around baseball about how well Lindor is liked or isn't liked. I don't know, man. I don't want to get into all that stuff. Lindor, Mr. Smiles when he's going right and having fun. And I think the Met fans have really embraced him after a rocky start. BT and I had Lindor on, I don't know if it was before last season or before, I think it might have been before last season. So about a year ago. And the one thing that bothered me about the interview was that I didn't feel he was authentic in that I teed him up to be like, hey, when you first got here, the relationship with the Met fans wasn't great. The whole thumbs down thing, you didn't perform to the highest of your levels. It was kind of a learning curve. The Met fans were getting on you. You didn't respond well to the boos. And he was like, I feel like it's always been great. But that's just a blatant lie. Meanwhile, I was trying to let him know, like, you went from that where you first started to then having this great relationship right now where everybody's singing your walk-up song and everybody loves Francisco Lindor. There's you feel it, the real bond between Lindor and the Mets fans. And I think that that's special from where he was when he first started to how he now developed that connection. That does not happen often. Carlos Beltran comes to mind where we talk about Beltran, and he is a Hall of Famer. I think one of the best Mets ever, underrated as a matter of fact, as a Met. Although now that he's in the Hall of Fame, he'll probably have his number retired by the Mets sooner than later, if not this year, because of the 86 celebrations on the 40th anniversary of the 86 championship team. Maybe next year they'll have Beltran's number 15 retired. I would expect that to happen at some point. But Beltran never had that relationship with the fan base where you really, truly felt a connection, especially after 06. But the awful start in 05, then the Wainwright, Game 7, 2006. He never fully recovered from that as far as the connection with the fan base, even though he was an extremely talented ball player, one of the best ever in a Mets uniform. Lindor, there was the disconnect early on. He is now truly connected with this fan base, and I think that that's something special. But when I brought it up to him, he just ignored it and didn't acknowledge the reality of the situation, and instead was like, no, it's always been good. I'm like, no, dude, that's not being real or authentic. And I have an issue with that. You got to be real. You have to be authentic. Now, I'm not saying he's like that in real life. I don't know. Maybe he was just doing an interview and he thought that that's what he had to say. I would have liked a better answer on that, a more authentic answer from Lindor. And that turned me off a little bit at that time. And I don't know if that's, look, I'm not in the clubhouse, so I have no idea how it works exactly in there. But I do know that he wanted to be the captain. Some others wanted to be the captain, and it became a point of contention in recent years. And now that Steve Cohen puts that to bed, hopefully we could all move on. But I just hope that Lindor's not really bothered by that, and still, as he says, going to be himself no matter what. But just goes out there and leads by example. You don't need the C on your chest to be the true captain of the team. We'll know it. We'll see it when it's there. But I think the talk was all premature. Soto himself last year, and nobody wanted to make a big deal about it, but it was right there in plain daylight. I didn't say anything because I knew what was going on with the inner workings of it before it became public after the fact with Lindor and Soto having a little bit of an issue. But I was trying to lead everybody, like taking the horse to the wall. I was trying to lead you there. Look at it. It's right here in plain sight in the New York Post. Look at Soto's comments. I think Marte is the captain of this team, or the leader of this team. He's the leader of this team. He makes everybody feel good. Whatever it was, the exact quotes from Soto a year ago. But it was plain daylight for everybody to see. I thought that was a direct shot across the bow from Soto to Lindor. And nobody wanted to listen to it. Nobody wanted to believe it until after the season, after the fact it came out, hey, there was a little bit of an icy relationship between Soto and Lindor. Now, I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. I really think both guys are going to be more matured in year two of how they handle themselves together in that clubhouse. Plus, the entire feel and vibe of that team has changed, bringing in Peralta and Simeon, and obviously no more Nimmo and Alonso. Not that those guys were bad, because they weren't, just different vibes. And maybe that'll help Soto and Lindor grow together. Not that they need to be best buds, because they don't, but forget the captaincy, forget about the whatever negative vibes that they had last year. It should all be different this year. I truly believe that, and I think that's going to help them win more ball games.